I want to state
What
my case and
happened?
defend myself. So this started years ago, actually. So I have friends all over at every news company. So it's like if people talk shit, I hear it. And they were like, An0maly, they're calling you far right, this and that, and at like, I'm not gonna say the conservative media. And I'm like, why? What did I say? What did I do? What do you mean? And he's like, well, someone retweeted you, and they draw you with that person. And I'm like, listen, I have on Facebook, I have 800 million views. You know what I'm saying? I'm not bragging, but I'm out there. I've gotten 20, probably 10 million retweets. So it's like I'm not responsible for everything that everyone says. And even when we're talking about this stuff, there's people that like people I like that I don't actually agree with. So they started playing this game years ago with me, or it's a guilt by association because he retweeted you, you must be him.
Right.
And it's been getting over and over and over. And, you know, there's been different times where people have got mad at different things. But the first thing that they got mad at was in 2019, Trump and DeSantis passed a bill. Trump passed an executive order, and there were anti-Semitism bills for schools or for college campuses. And part of it had like a list of what it means to be anti-Semitism. And it had a list of like 20 things. And I just thought it was excessive because I didn't agree with everything there. And also, I have Jewish friends that say some of the things that they say are anti-Semitic the same way that, you know, like they don't defend you or they exaggerate and say like, well, she said that or you said that. So I thought, I don't think that needs to be passed into law. And I actually think it does disservice because when you cut out people's speech, I don't think you could stop hate at that root or evil or violence. Like, I don't think it stops at that. So I disagreed with it on that level. And then I got called.
Because it was a suppression of free speech bill.
I thought so. And I thought that it exaggerated, it used certain things that it's just like, it's not going to stop people from hating. And I'm not a hateful person. And I'm not saying this just to pander, but I've had a great relationship with a lot of people. So I've never been someone, my parents raised me well. I know there's great people all over. And in my life, my favorite family that was the nicest to me, this is a real story, they were Jewish growing up. The mom was nice. Like I never hated anybody. You know what I'm saying? I have thousands of people watch me in Israel. So it's annoying where if I talk about certain thing or lobbying money or even Zionism, not in a I hate you way, but in a what's the relationship between that and American politics, they immediately just say I hate everybody. And like with everything, it's not going to stop me when people say certain things, but it sucks because I have a lot of Jewish friends, Jewish neighbors, and it's like I just don't like when people lie about me.
Well, what's your whole thing with the Zionist lobby?
So I think in American politics, like a lot of the big donors, I'll give you a specific example, and there's no disrespect because I'm sure he's a great guy. He's deceased now, but Sheldon Adelson was a big Republican donor, like, you know, American businessman. Never said anything bad about him. Don't think anything bad about him. He had a speech where he said, I served in the American military, and he used the word like unfortunately, and then he said, I want my kids to serve in the IDF, the Israeli military. So I'll just say, if he's spending hundreds of millions of dollars to donate to the Republicans, I think he wants to push certain policy with it. Just that.
I don't get that. I can't follow.
He's saying if somebody is donating money to a politician and they have certain things they want to happen on the geopolitical scale, they're probably going to push their agenda, lobbying, and he doesn't want lobbyists.
Well, no, it's not even that, but
I think they should pass a law that people in government cannot accept campaign money from any non-American source.
Right, and I think it's a good policy. And what I'm saying is like I'm not one of these people. Like when it comes to Israel Palestine, I only know what I hear. I've never been there. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert. I think it's crazy, and there's so much stuff in the world. I'm not an expert on that topic. But when it comes to American policy, if it's at the expense of my First Amendment, I don't have to agree with it. And it doesn't make me anti-Semitic because I believe in the First Amendment. And it's actually a nice thing because I don't do that because I hate. I do it because I think that the more you do that, the more people actually get divided and hateful, and it rises the hate and it rises people's like tension as opposed to allowing people to speak freely. So in Israel,
what bothered you about those
the bills?
Yeah.
They define anti-Semitism in like 50 different ways, where they're saying you can't make mendacious and dehumanizing claims about Jewish people owning banks or media. You can't compare Israel to Nazis. These are some of the laws. You can't criticize Israel more than other democratic nations. And it's not like I need to do any of these things. Like, I don't even talk about certain things, like if I'm not inspired to. But when you go down that list, it goes further and further, and I'm like, I don't feel like this needs to be passed into a law. I don't see the need. Like, this is almost like an intro to hate speech laws in my view. And I want to say, like, in Israel, they have a policy where if you're an Israeli politician and you're also Russian, they make you give up your passport, because they want you to be loyal to the Israeli government. Or if you're Israeli American, I don't know if it's still a rule, but I've read a couple of years ago in like Haaretz and some other like Jewish publications that they do that. I don't consider that anti-Russian or anti-American. It's like, I get it. Like, Israel's a crazy place. You want to make sure they're loyal to you, not serving another country. It's smart. But in America, it's almost like the roles are reversed. If you even speak about it, then they call you like anti-Semitic or racist, and it's like, if China's buying up a bunch of farmland, I don't hate China and I don't hate Chinese people. I have no reason to. But this is America, and if you're buying a bunch of land in our country, but we can't buy land in your country, that's a little weird. You know what I'm saying? And also, yeah. Why would China or Russia like America at this point? So if they're allowed to, so I talk about it in the context of that. And I've been just constantly bombarded. And to be honest, a lot of it isn't even public. It's like, well, don't talk to him. Well, what did I say? And they don't even know, because they just like, it's like a rumor sort of thing. So I've never said it in a hateful way. And I've in my opinion, I want to say this too, because I'm passionate about this. I feel like when Israel was being persecuted with mandates and all this stuff, I feel like I have the respect of Israelis who didn't get vaccinated, because I was there talking about it. And all these Republicans that take donor money and just like, oh, I love Israel, and they pose in front of the star, all of a sudden they were nowhere to be found when Israelis were suffering. So it's like, with me, I'm not trying to, because you're a legend. I think I've already introed you. I just feel like I say what I actually believe, and I actually love people, so it comes off rough sometimes. But when push comes to shove, I'll be there for the people. Where these politicians, I think they use Jewish people in the same way leftists use Black and Latino, almost like a donor thing. Yeah. And when some of them like them, and some of them just look at Israel like a paycheck, instead of like they actually care about the people there. So that's where
I always think that. I think the unconscious thing I guess it's a majority of Americans, is everyone identifies Israel as the 51st state. Mm. Because it really is the tip of the spear for America in the Middle East.
I don't hate on it, and I've never been someone
But I
against
just
it,
love that Trump went over there and made peace, the Abrahamic Accords. I had a lot to do with inserting my fat, nosy ass into those conversations, because that means a lot to me that there would be peace finally.
Right.
Once the leftist commies are out of the way, because that's who always agitates, always wants blood, always wants suffering. That's what they run on.
And I feel like if you're against the Ukraine war, they'll try to say you're Russian or you're against Ukraine. I like Ukrainians. I like Russians. I'm not a hateful person. I think there's great people everywhere, and I think they're killing each other, and I think it sucks, and I want the war to end. But they'll say I'm anti-Ukraine. So it's sort of like that, where when it comes to Israel, a lot of people will just assume or say or talk behind my back, oh, you hate all those people. And it's never been true. It's just, as long, in my view, as that policy doesn't supersede my First Amendment or get hate speech laws into America, because they always do it in ways that you like. For example, the left will be like, here's a hate speech law for Black and Latinos, and then next thing you know, you can't talk about vaccines. And then the right, they know that there's a lot of love in the Christian world as well, in the conservative Christian world, for the Jewish state. So they're like, well, you're An0maly if you disagree with it. And I'm like, I'm not An0maly. Like, we disagree on 99% of policy. She's like a far left progressive, in my opinion, like dingbat. But that's what I'll be painted as, because it's like, if I disagree with Trump, people think I'm Bill Mitchell or the left, but I disagree for a different reason. And that's how it is with those bills, is I think they're using that as an intro to kind of like take away speech and make it,
one step closer to the chip.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. I follow a Jewish guy named Mark Lobener, who's a bodybuilder, and he was calling Israel Nazis because he thought the vaccine policy was Nazis. And I wasn't doing that, and I wouldn't. That's not what I was doing. But he's Jewish, yeah. And that the speech laws say that you can't do that. So it's like they're going to cut the tongue out of a Jewish man in America who's critical of a vaccine policy based on these rules, and they don't really work right now, but like that's
yeah. But then when you think
opposition.
about the evil genius of that, like me getting fired for defending Israel in so many words, it always is it's always a black person or a Jew or another minority who gets taken down.
Well, it's like with BLM, it's like if you push socialism and Marxism, normally it's like kind of weird. But if you push it through black identity, then it's like disagreeing with it is racist, right?
That's so right.
So with that sort of thing, and that's why I don't want to name names of Republicans, but I personally get annoyed because like you guys go out here to all these donor rallies and stand with the Jewish people, but when the Jewish people are suffering, all of a sudden all these Republicans that call themselves Zionists, that most of them are Christian, they're nowhere to be found. So I'm like, how much do you, if you didn't say anything when they couldn't go to a grocery store without a vaccine, how much do you really care about them?
Well, they didn't say that for Americans either.
Right. That's why I don't like 90. I was talking about Ted Cruz. He was trying to say in 2021 that only vaccinated people should get on an airplane and take their mask off. Like he was signing a resolution. It's like, you're a conservative? I didn't like you think you're better, and I get like really annoyed at that.
That's why
I don't understand where it's like that becomes an issue where because people are sensitive and I know maybe their intentions are good, that anytime there's any sort of chat in that direction, they just take you and kind of throw you in this category that you're not
it's
a part of.
censorship, and it's always ugly.
It's deplatforming. What they do is they want to put you in a category where everybody hates you, right? If you're an anti-Semite or racist, then everything you say
it's deplatforming.
It should never be listened to. An0maly's anti-Semitic. Roseanne's a racist. This person's that. And then you go, okay, I don't ever have to listen to anything they say. That's all it is.
And also, why do they not have to listen to anything we say? Because we're talking about class war.